So I'm now one of the old guys. I'm actually Joel's instructor. He's still one of the young guys. And you guys are even younger than he is. One day you guys could be up here teaching the little kids class. Or you could be teaching the adult class. Or you could be me and you could own the organization if you wanted to. You could own your own school. It's really a very real possibility if it's something that you loved and you thought you wanted to teach people what you already know. So let me ask you, kid, this question. Raise your hand if you talked to a friend of yours and said, ooh, let me show you what I'm doing. And you want to show them a kick, you want to show them a punch, you want to show them a throw. Raise your hand if you've ever showed somebody something about your Jiu Jitsu and kickboxing.
Never.
Yeah, if you've ever, have you ever done that? Have you talked to people? So we like to show people what we learn. So we like to show people what we learn. We like to teach people. It's a really important thing to pass on the information. Pretty cool, right? So I want to tell you that when someone gives us a gift, they give us some training, some information, they give us their time, we must really be thankful and grateful for that. And then we want to keep their memory of that alive as long as we can, maybe forever. So what I've done is I've put my instructors up on the wall so we can talk about them from time to time. And I wanted to give them respect. And I wanted to tell you guys how thankful I am that they trained me. So Earl Marvin was one of my first instructors. He was a little bitty fella, about this big. Hold one second. And he couldn't kick very high. He was really tight. His legs didn't kick very high. But he taught me everything that I know about kicking and punching, even though his body was different than mine and I had a different capability than he had. He had wisdom and he had the skills to teach. Isn't that pretty cool? Mm-hmm. He also taught me initially about how to make throws. And he taught me a lot about life. All right, quick question. I know it's bugging you.
Why does he look like Mr. Fountain?
He doesn't look like Mr. Fountain. I think he's way different looking. They do have a similar beard. That's the only thing. All right. So anyways, the thing that I remember most about this gentleman here is that he took time with me. A lot of people wouldn't take time with me. I was a teenager when I met him, and I was not really getting along well with my parents, my mom. And he was the one that I respected the most, and guess what? He told me. What do you think he told me about my mom?
I don't know. Respect them.
I should respect her, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
He said, don't be hard-headed. Hard head makes a soft butt, which means you get a spanking and you get in trouble if you don't respect your parents. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
All right. He was so serious about being respectful to my mother, to my teachers as well, that he made time to explain to me why it was so important. All right? He said, you like training with me? I said, yeah, of course. He said, you think about martial arts a lot. You want to come. Who wants to come to Jiu Jitsu and kickboxing, right? We all do, right? I said, yeah, I really want to. I love it. He said, because I'm giving you something of myself. And your mom does that. Or your dad. Or your teachers. They give you time. They give you something. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If they give you something, don't you agree that that's like a gift?
Mm-hmm.
Now, who's ever got a super cool toy for Christmas or a birthday? And who accidentally broke the toy at some point, or you just outgrew it? That happens. The knowledge that you get from your instructor, listen carefully, the knowledge that you get from your instructor in martial arts is just one form of knowledge. You still have your teachers that are giving you knowledge and information. But who is the greatest teacher probably in your life? What do you think?
A worker.
Okay, who's the greatest teacher?
Your parents.
Your parents. They've been teaching you since you were a little baby. They teach you how to walk. They teach you how to talk. They teach you the difference between good and evil, between right and wrong. They teach you the value of being a good person. Doesn't that make sense? All right, so look at me carefully. Everybody look. I got the frowny face for on purpose. You must be respectful to your mother and your father. You must. There are consequences if you're not. It might not be a spanking, but it could be an injured relationship or a broken relationship. We want to have a good relationship with our mother and our father. That's the first thing. The second thing is, let's also do that in school, right? We don't want to have a bad relationship with our teacher because then we aren't going to learn. Does that make sense? So I took time and I trained under each of these individuals. This is my current instructor. He was trained under my instructor as well. So we have this guy in common, but now he is the headmaster of the system. He's down in South Carolina. By the way, my first instructor has passed away. I want to keep his memory alive forever. I want to tell you how cool he was, how he taught me things that he couldn't even do, which is pretty exciting. That means he's a super great teacher. Again, Matt Avan, who's my current instructor, right? He took time with me. He shared with me. He instructed me. He helped me in ways that other people weren't taking. When I was very angry and unhappy as an older, I wasn't a teenager anymore. I was in my 20s, right? He took time. He spent time with me. Reminded me that not everybody's our enemy. We got to take time to try to understand people. Be patient. Be forgiving. I'll tell you another thing that he taught me that's super important. He said that I shouldn't try to make any one of you, or Mr. Fountain or Jennifer, I shouldn't try to make you into a masterpiece in one day. He said I should look at you for a while and watch you. He said I should take my chisel and my hammer and I should chip a little piece off and then stand back and look at you again, which is to say I teach you a technique and then let you work it. Instead of trying to be very critical and trying to get you perfect right away, let you grow. Does that make sense? That's a great lesson. We got to let people do that. They grow at their own rate. While he was alive, I trained with this gentleman over here. He's also passed away. Kunibal was from the lineage of actual samurai. I mean, literally, he comes from a lineage of great Japanese martial artists from Japan. He was the youngest headmaster in Japan in the history of Japan, which means his father, who was the headmaster, passed away early, and he took over the system and ran it and did a great job. He was a master of the sword. He was a master of judo and jiu-jitsu. He was a master of karate. And he was also a master of this thing called Goshindo. Goshindo is really what we're doing, which is the first blending of all martial arts. So we do kickboxing, punching, kicking, Muay Thai style kickboxing. And then we also do jiu-jitsu. One's on the ground with throwing, and one's on standing up kicking. He started blending those things early, long before UFC. So then, in the military, I trained under this gentleman, right? Hayashi. Hayashi is also from a Japanese lineage, but he also has done extensive jiu-jitsu, bujitsu, stick and knife fighting, and he and I trained extensively doing all of those things. And he was really important to me in and around 1997 to 2000, long before you guys were born. All right? This gentleman here on the end is a good friend, still alive, who knew this guy, who trained with this guy under another person, who trained with this guy under another person. So you can see that in martial arts, it's a world of relationships. We all kind of know each other. It was pretty cool that I've been trained by so many great people. By the way, there's other people not on the wall, still alive, that I've trained with, including Renshi Bill Makumbi, who's been here, and Kiyoshi Sharman, who's come here to help us train. My thing is I've had a lot of teachers. How many of you guys have had a lot of teachers in school? Different teachers. If you take time and learn from them, and they give you your time, it's a great gift. Don't act up in school, just like you're sitting here being so good right now. You must do that. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
If you do that, there's a great reward. Who knows what the reward is if you pay attention and learn? What's the great reward? What do you think, Cam?
You get better.
You get better. That's the first thing. What's the next thing?
Knowledge.
The knowledge that you get, you can then pass on to someone else. That is huge. Imagine if you one day decided to get married and have kids, and you wanted to help your son or your daughter with some math or with some science in their school, and you think back to your teacher that you have today and said, yeah, she taught me that. I remember my teacher. You see how important it is that we build these relationships, that we learn from our teachers, and we give them great respect. Does that make sense? All right. Now, I will tell you that I do own the school, but guess what? Joel Fountain is your instructor. He is the source of information for you. I would give him utmost respect. And in turn, because I am his instructor, it's great that you're giving me respect. And I think that's super important. but not nearly as important as the first teacher. Remind me, who was your first teacher?
Mom and Dad.
Mom and Dad, parents, super good. Your first teacher. They love you. They take care of you. Honor them with nice things that you say, nice things that you do. Listen to them carefully. Try to learn as they teach you. And if you do that, I promise you, when you're an old guy like me or an old gal, you'll look back and you'll be like, my mom taught me that. My dad taught me that. It's a great thing to have that kind of loving relationship with your parents. So I need a commitment. I need a promise. I want you to raise your hand if you promise you'll do your best. Raise your hand if you'll do your best. Now, you can put your hands down. It doesn't mean you have to be perfect. We all make mistakes. Everybody raise your hand if you've ever made a mistake. All right, that's normal. It's okay to make mistakes, but we should learn from those and try not to make the same mistake again and again. I make lots of mistakes. It happens. I want you guys to fulfill your promise. Promise to honor me because of Joel. Honor Joel because your parents let you come and train with him. Does that make sense? But ultimately honor your parents. If you'll do that and you'll listen in school, you'll get the gift. The gift that I'm talking about. Growth, knowledge, relationships. This is important. More important than anything else that you'll do in your life. Understand, respect, and honor everything. Questions on these things? Any questions on these men and how they contributed to my life? Yes.
How old are some of them?
Okay, so this guy is 10 years older than me. So I'm 52. He's 62. This guy is about the same age. He's, I think, 62. This gentleman died over 20 years ago, and he was 50 then. He would be well into his late 70s by now. This gentleman died when he was in his 50s about the same time, so he'd be well into his 70s by now. And this gentleman is a little bit older than me. He's only about 5 years older than me. I think he's 57. Still alive.
Why is Nate my lost?
Say loud, I can hear.
Why is Nate my lost?
Which one?
Yeah.
This one? Taichi? So Taichi Hayashi he's a Japanese guy with a Japanese name. So your name is Jason. That's an American name. Taichi Hayashi is a Japanese name. His father was Japanese. And that is why. His father's name was Hayashi. Anybody else? Guys, I'm going to tell you what, it's one of the coolest things in my life to be able to teach you, or to teach Joel, or to be a part of this organization. I'm so glad you're here. Please do me that favor. Remember, you raised your hand and you promised you would do your best for your parents and for your school. I think that's an important commitment. We should try to do that, okay? On your feet.